knew that they would end up in LA because that was Meghan's dream. Her dream was to be an A-lister, and she was unable to make it to those two. Go over there. Her race is not discernible by the eye. If she walked in, you would never say Meghan Markle is a black woman.
And I mean that, and I'm saying it heartfelt, just so you know. That is the best case scenario, is that Harry is a victim of his own stupidity.
Stop whatever you're doing, because you are not going to believe what just went down behind closed doors at this ultra-exclusive London dinner. Picture it. The heart of Mayfair, candles flickering, a table surrounded by the kind of people who trade secrets like currency. And right there at the Fonny Singh center of it all sits Sarah Ferguson, yes, Fergie, the fiery duchess who's lived through it all. She leans forward, eyes gleaming with that mischievous spark, and suddenly she drops a line about Meghan and Prince Andrew that makes the entire room stop breathing. A fork actually clatters to the floor. The laughter dies mid-sentence. Every person at that table knows exactly what she just implied. This wasn't playful dinner gossip, this was a grenade disguised as small talk. And here's the kicker. Before Meghan ever rocked a tiara or flashed that royal smile beside Harry, her world was totally different. We're talking private yachts gliding along the Mediterranean, sun-drenched decks full of billionaires, champagne that costs more than your car, a reality where Hollywood dreams flirted shamelessly with serious money.
Only perception survives. Soon, old photos began resurfacing. Grainy shots from luxury boats, unidentified.
Charming, strategic. But the real question is, how did a briefcase girl from Deal or No Deal end up rubbing shoulders with Prince Andrew and later find her way into the arms of a prince who once swore he'd never marry an actress? Here's where it gets delicious. It all connects through one name almost no one dares to mention. And that comment Fergie dropped, it wasn't random. Oh, no. It was sharp, timed, and deliberate, the kind of remark meant to remind the world that while she might not wear a crown anymore, she still has matches to light the biggest fire in the room. So buckle up, because what's about to unfold will blow your mind. This isn't some recycled royal rumor. This is the thread that ties together fame, money, and betrayal. It's one of those chilly London nights, quiet outside, but inside that private dining room, the air practically hums. You can almost feel the tension sparkle in the wine glasses. Everyone there is royal adjacent, the kind of crowd that gets invited, not the kind that just shows up. One careless word could make next morning's headlines.
With a long history of ruffled feathers, one of her latest public attention grabs has been in the form of supporting polar.
And there's Fergie, perfectly composed, the woman who once lived the fairy. Tail, lost it all, then somehow climbed her way back. She's sitting with that secretive little smile, the one that says she knows way more than she lets on. Then, mid-conversation, she leans forward and says something about Meghan and Andrew that freezes the entire table. Because everyone there knows the code when Fergie mentions the yacht days. She's not talking about summer vacations. The room goes silent again. A fork hits a plate. The air shifts. Every single person understands the meaning behind her words. This wasn't about reminiscing. This was a surgical strike, reminding everyone she holds the kind of secrets that could destroy the royal facade.
There's always been a strange parallel between Sarah Ferguson, Duchess of York, and Meghan Markle, Duchess of Sussex.
That's how you know it wasn't an accident. Fergie doesn't slip. Every sentence she speaks is rehearsed in her mind like a line in a play. And this one, it hit the weakest point in Meghan's story, those blurry early years before Harry, before titles, before cameras followed her every move. No one dared ask her to elaborate. They didn't need to. The implication did all the talking. Because in that royal world, perception is everything. The right whisper at the right time can wreck an empire. And that's exactly what Fergie just did. Planted a seed that would grow into a headline storm by morning. So let's rewind. Because to understand how one dinner turned into a royal disaster, we need to look at who Meghan was.
Been so kind to Morgan. In 2018, when the media personality interviewed her on Good Morning Britain, she snapped, "Get a life."
She was hustling audition after audition, tiny roles, tiny paychecks, praying for a break while LA rent burned holes in her wallet. She was doing what every dreamer does, juggling. Modeling gigs, acting lessons, and the unrelenting pressure of survival. Then came Suits. Finally, a steady paycheck, a bit of spotlight. But even cable TV fame doesn't cover designer wardrobes and jet-set vacations. And while those Hollywood gates stayed half closed, other doors quietly started. Opening the kind lined with velvet ropes and billion-dollar views. We're talking yacht parties, real ones off Capri, Monaco, Ibiza, the kind of scenes that exist somewhere between fantasy and power play. Meghan was there. She wasn't a household name yet, but she stood out confident, polished, magnetic.
Truth seeker or royal saboteur? Every royal household, no matter how polished or perfect.
People remembered her. Those summers became her networking ground where introductions were worth fortunes and friendships could rewrite destinies. Among those whispers was a name that kept surfacing: Soho House, a place not just for cocktails and cool decor, but for connections that shape careers. Meghan was reportedly deep in that world, making friends who mattered, learning how influence really works. See, the Mediterranean yacht circuit isn't just rich people partying. It's strategy disguised as leisure. Every dinner, every invitation, every smile, a move in a bigger game. Meghan understood that game. Every conversation, every photo, every chance meeting was part of her climb. And somewhere in that glittering maze, she met Marcus Anderson, the connector.
Sarah Ferguson says she has no judgment as Prince Harry and Meghan Markle make their own way. Speaking,
the man who knew everyone worth knowing, from A-listers to aristocrats, global membership director for Soho House, the bridge between Hollywood, business, and royalty. And Meghan, she became one of his closest friends. He opened doors she could never have pushed alone. And one of those doors led straight to Sarah Ferguson herself, the comeback duchess who'd fallen from grace but never lost her touch. Marcus made the introduction, and that changed everything. Marcus was the kind of man who could send a text in Monaco and have dinner waiting in London by the same evening. He was that powerful, that connected. And when he brought Meghan into his circle, everything changed. Suddenly, she wasn't just another actress trying to make it in Hollywood. She was rubbing shoulders with names the tabloids could only dream of. Marcus was her bridge into a whole new world, and right across that bridge stood Fergie. Now think about that for a second. Fergie, the woman who'd been burned by the royals, humiliated by the press, and exiled for years, yet somehow always found her way back. She was the perfect gateway to royal connections. And Marcus knew exactly what he was doing when he introduced them. That one connection fast-tracked Meghan into royal adjacent circles, because once Fergie took interest, everything sped up. Fergie wasn't just another socialite. She had direct access to the princes. She'd been married to Andrew, knew William and Harry since they were little boys, and she could open doors no Hollywood producer ever could. But here's where things start getting messy, because Andrew himself moved in those same yacht circles, the same exclusive Mediterranean summers, the same billionaires, the same private events where cameras weren't allowed, the same scene where Meghan had been building her own name quietly, one conversation at a time. The overlap was impossible to ignore. These weren't random coincidences, these were intersecting paths, over and over again, in all the same places, at all the same times. People in those elite worlds don't need proof. They notice patterns. They connect dots. They whisper. And soon enough, whispers started turning into stories. People remembered seeing Meghan at those parties. They remembered Marcus always nearby. They remembered Fergie showing sudden interest. And they remembered Andrew, the prince, who never said no to luxury, to yachts, to attention. It didn't take much imagination to fill in the rest. By the time that Mayfair dinner rolled around, the tension was already there, buried under polite smiles and champagne flutes. So when Fergie leaned forward and dropped that comment, she knew exactly what she was doing. She wasn't revealing a secret, she was detonating one. Because by the time dawn hit Los Angeles, the gossip had already crossed the ocean. Phones were buzzing. Headlines were forming. And in Montecito, Harry's phone wouldn't stop vibrating. He hadn't even had coffee yet when the messages started pouring in, all asking the same thing. Did Fergie really say that? Harry was furious, not the quiet kind of anger, but the kind that shakes your chest. This wasn't the tabloids making up stories. This was someone inside the royal circle, someone who'd known him since childhood, someone who should have protected him, not attacked his wife. The betrayal hit deep, and Meghan, she went silent, completely. No interviews, no photos, no public appearances. Her PR team went dark. But that silence didn't help. If anything, it made things worse. Because when a rumor explodes and the person at the center disappears, people start to believe it's true. Every hour without a response became another headline. Every canceled appearance looked like guilt. The silence screamed louder than words ever could. Online, people were ruthless. Clips, memes, theories, they tore her apart. Well, if it isn't two snakes fighting because Meghan Markle's past is true. That's the kind of comment that went viral in seconds. The internet didn't care about facts, it cared about the story. And this one had everything: power, betrayal, money, and royals. Meghan's team tried to stay calm, hoping it would blow over, but it didn't. The fire only spread. Harry watched helplessly from California, trapped in the same nightmare he'd tried to escape. This was exactly why he'd left the UK, the constant scrutiny, the cruel headlines, the whispers that turned into truths overnight. But now, even oceans away, the ghosts of that world had found him again. And the cruel irony? The attack came from the one person who should have understood what Meghan was going through, Sarah Ferguson. The woman who knew exactly how it felt to be destroyed by the press. But instead of empathy, Fergie chose strategy. That dinner comment wasn't about revenge, it was about relevance, about reminding the royal family and the entire world that she still mattered. Meanwhile, Meghan's silence gave tabloids free rein. Old photos started surfacing blurry. Shots of yacht parties, glamorous guests, glittering decks. Were they real? Were they edited? Nobody knew, but that didn't matter. They went viral anyway. Because in the age of social media, proof isn't necessary, just perception. And Prince Andrew, he said nothing. Not a word. No denial, no statement, nothing. And that silence spoke volumes. Because if it were all nonsense, he would have shut it down immediately. But he didn't. And that gave the story life. Every hour he stayed silent was seen as confirmation. The royal world runs on silence when you don't speak. People decide what your silence means for you. And Fergie, oh, she played it perfectly. She didn't hide. She didn't apologize. She smiled for cameras, attended events, gave interviews about charity work, like she hadn't just set off the biggest royal scandal of the year. Her calmness wasn't guilt, it was satisfaction. She'd reminded the world she still had power, and she wasn't afraid to use it. What people didn't see was how much precision went into that one dinner remark. Fergie had spent decades learning how to control the narrative. Every headline, every quote, every silence. After being exiled, mocked, and buried under scandals, she knew exactly how to twist the knife without getting blood on her hands. That Mayfair dinner wasn't an accident. It was the perfect storm. The right audience, the right topic, the perfect timing. She knew the room would talk. She wanted them to, and once they did, her work was done. She didn't need to repeat it. Others would do it for her. And just like that, Fergie had what she wanted: relevance. After years of being sidelined, she'd pulled herself right back into the spotlight, not by giving an interview or releasing a memoir, but by doing what royals do best: whispering. 7 words, perfectly placed, and the entire world lit up. The irony was almost poetic. Meghan had spent years crafting her image, trying to escape the label of scandal, trying to control her narrative, but one quiet whisper from the Duchess of York undid all of it. That's the power of reputation in the royal world. Fragile, explosive, and always one rumor away from collapse. And Fergie, she knew it better than anyone. Fergie's calm smile after that chaos said it all victory. While Meghan hid and Harry fumed, she glided through events, unbothered, proving she didn't need a crown to shake the palace walls. 1 dinner, 7 words. And she reminded everyone she still held the royal world's most dangerous weapon, the truth mixed with just enough mystery to ruin lives. Meghan and Harry learned the hard way. You can flee the palace, but not the whispers that follow. Because in that glittering, poisonous world, Fergie didn't just survive, she ruled the gossip throne once again.